You know, I don't think you can help but get interested in dark skies when you're, doing amateur astronomy, because we don't have any. Right? That's the first problem. But anyway, I'm also a solar system ambassador, and I have the stinking badges to prove it. So even though I'm retired now, I left the planetarium in May of 2016 because I felt a call to evangelize on behalf of the solar eclipse. We had that actually go through. My house was 2 minutes 35 seconds. So, yeah, that was great. How many of you guys traveled to see it? All right. Yeah, Gallup was great. It's right up the road for me. I'm in Goodlettsville, so. Yep. And we'll be coming this general direction for the next one. Although I'm really fortunate, I've been asked to go as a team to Chile in July.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'll be doing science, which is fun. But getting to see the eclipse along the way. All right. And our club is pretty good with outreach. We try to do at least one public star party a month, and then we have a private one for members. Our public one would be tomorrow. What's the forecast for tomorrow? Rain. So we're not doing tomorrow. All right. All right. So why do we care? And I know we kind of care, but we should care, I think, more than we do. And so we really should do one of these images from space like every year and do a time lapse so you could see the light creeping out and slowly engulfing, because it's not static, right? East of the Mississippi now, it's really hard to find actually dark places. So that's a real problem, to find places that are dark at night. And certainly the West should preserve what they've got. Right? So it's a little bit easier to fence off and say, not here, than it is to say, wait, we want this out of here. So, but considering that most of the population of the U.S. lives on the east side of that, we really want to work on the dark skies. And probably you guys have had the same experience we have, which is people come to your star party, and they look at you and you go, but it's dark at my house. And I look at them and I go, no, it's not. And if you don't know that it's not, you haven't been under an honestly dark sky. And they haven't for the most part. So yeah, you get, well, aren't there a lot of places still dark at night? This is Tennessee. No! No, there are actually no dark places. There's my house. This is Pickett State Park, which is a beautiful place if you've never been there. Go there. There's some great hiking. There's waterfalls, stone arches, lots of cool stuff to do during the day, but it's got beautiful night skies. I think they're still planning on having an astronomy weekend. I think it's going to be the last weekend of August there, the week before Labor Day. Don't quote me on that, though. But what they do then is they get the group camp for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The group camp is like north of the main park. It has a huge field. There are no lights there overhead, nothing, but climate-controlled cabins. So it's a really great place to go and hang out for a weekend. And if it would be clear, that would just be extra bonus points. The last time I was up there was for the Perseid meteor shower, and about the time we were setting up the tent, we heard rumble, rumble, rumble. One of the most spectacular lightning storms I've ever seen. And it did clear about 11 p.m., and we hung out for a few more hours watching a few meteors. So that's a lot of fun. Oh, and if you ever get the chance to, and you guys are closer to this, but over here, it doesn't show up well here, but some of this is gray over here. That's the Mark Twain National Forest in Missouri. Really nice. Natchez isn't bad. I mean, that's this little blob right here. And if they would, I haven't stopped there for a little while. A lot of the state parks seriously need to improve their lighting. And the other problem they have is that if you ask somebody, so can we turn off like these couple of lights here, the ones next to the boat dock? Well, no, because especially for the ones built back in the CCC years, it's like they don't even know where all the switches are. And everything is weirdly tied together, and it's really painful. Hopefully, as the future catches up to these places and they transition to more modern lighting, maybe they'll reduce some of that and we can get them. But this would be a whole lot better place, because it is kind of in the middle of, between the Jackson and Nashville here. So we just need to get a space in the parks. Yeah?
I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on this, but what is likely to use a wildlife?
Yeah, right. I will talk about that. So, but anyway, and I did a talk for the Mid-State Region Astronomical League, and they're all over here in Kansas and Arkansas. So I put up their light pollution map first. And there's some, but there's also a lot of blues and grays. And then I put Tennessee onto it, and they laughed. That's not good. but I don't blame them, really. So hence the IDA, the International Dark Sky Association. And it is changing. For a long time, it was a very ad hoc, seat-of-the-pants run thing. It's really growing up. They're getting more of an organization, getting bigger, a little more money, a little more ability to reach people and do advertising. And so, yeah, they just kind of redid their whole chapter thing. And so we're all going to be going through kind of redo our chapters. Bring them up. They want everybody to be a 501c3 kind of under them. Most of us already are with our clubs. And it occurred to them at some point last year that astronomy clubs was a group that they had kind of taken for granted and not really reached out to specifically. And now they're thinking that might be a good thing because we are their natural advocates.
We're the choir.
Yeah, we are the choir, and we can be out, singing and preaching. And so they're trying to do a better job of communicating with people that might help them out. So not just big donors or big corporations or whatever, but to go back to the grassroots, and that's us. So the website keeps getting made over, and it's been improving. There's a lot more resources that you can get for free by asking. So lots of good stuff coming on, and hopefully picking up a little bit of steam. So those are our 2 international dark sky places here in Tennessee. Whoops, that ran off the screen. Does that tilt down? Probably not coming from there. Pickets up at the top on the board behind us, and then Obed Wild and Scenic River, which is fun, but it's not really like you have a little thing that you can go out on, but you have to walk your stuff out. It's not really the kind of place where you can set up in a big field. And the only reason we think that they got the designation was because you can point, they have trees, it's the Obed River. And so if you look up at the zenith, it's dark because there's nothing you can't see. It's really a shame if you go back and look. I know the Smoky Mountains would love to be able to say they were a dark sky place. And if you've been to Pigeon Forge, yeah. So that's a problem. So yeah, to this end, we're doing some education, outreach, and trying to convince people that this is a great thing. And for lots of cool reasons. And to get maybe some teeth to some of the lighting ordinances. I don't know offhand what Nashville, well, Nashville's is really lousy. It just says, it's got some kind of, if your neighbor is lighting you up to this many foot candles. I had to go talk to one of my neighbors because they recently installed an LED light on their deck. And I don't even know how it's pointed. It's on all the time. And it literally beams straight at me walking down my driveway at night. That's an easy fix. The hard fix, and the one that we've been talking with a councilman about drafting an ordinance for Nashville, is that Nashville does not have to follow Nashville's ordinances. Well, the streetlights are the thing we would most like to fix. Nashville also, just like Memphis, has a lot of interstate highways, and those are, of course, TDOT's purview. Now, I did come down the way and see that the Brownsville, I think, exit and all, had flat LED lighting. And how about that? They're still pointed down. They're putting some in at 440 in Nashville, and they're angled. And I feel, you feel like getting on a ladder and going up there and going, bam, 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 bam. When they turn those on, that neighborhood is going to grow thick. I'll leave it at that. Because there's just no reason to do uplighting. There's none. You want to light the street. Anything else you don't want to light. And so, it's okay to get a little agitated at that point. What are you people doing? And it is nice, too, that they're doing more awards and recognitions to highlight what people are doing. I kind of wish, again, that they'd come out of the individual awards to people and award things to organizations that were doing things, because at some point we've got to get the dots on board and the municipalities on board. And municipalities can be made to do lots of things if you just give them a nice sign to put up at the city limits that says, we did this great thing. That really is an incentive. When they wanted to do water system fluoridation, however we all feel about that here in Tennessee, that's what the water department in Nashville did. They gave them signs to put up at the city limits. And that unbelievably got people on board. Whatever it takes. So they are providing a lot of public outreach materials like these brochures, rack cards. You can even rent stuff from them. They have some cool traveling displays that you can get a hold of. And then there are an increasing number of videos as well that you can use in short presentations especially. So we're their natural allies. We're already doing outreach. Right? We interact with the public, so it's easy to add that to it. When I worked in the planetarium, every live show that I did about the night sky, when we hit sunset, what we went to was a Nashville sky. And I had just finished telling them that that star projector could put out 6.5 million stars. Well, you'd look up and just, I'd say, this isn't 6.5 million stars, is it? And most of those, by the way, because somebody's going to say, but you can only see a few thousand. Those were the Milky Way stars. Our Milky Way in Nashville is made of stars. You can get out your binoculars. It's made of little tiny, faint dots. It's honestly as natural. We can do the digital Milky Way too, but that's like, blow your eyes out and stuff. So anyway, we're redoing the chapter and the supporting club. You can actually be a supporting club. That's like a separate designation. Saying, yeah, we're fans. We like you. And that really doesn't take much of anything. And they're reaching out to have a relationship. So one of the things I've been trying to do, in between other things, is calling astronomy clubs. It's remarkably difficult to get a hold of officers. And one thing, to convince them that you're not a crank call. But to ask you guys if it's okay if IDA, they're trying to create like a map of the U.S. with clubs and who are supporting people of IDA. And so that we would, link to the club website, give a little bit of PR back so people would know, hey, I could go talk to the Memphis Astronomical Society maybe about my dark sky questions and somebody could help me. So there's that too. All right. That's an interesting, all right. Well, now remember, why should we care? Doesn't all that light mean civilization? I mean, we've been lighting candles against the dark for a very long time. We don't like the dark. Scary things are out there. And the problem that they sometimes have with those of us that as soon as they find out we're amateur astronomers is they go, well, you geeks just want to have your little fun and at the expense and trouble that the rest of us have to go through. And so I almost never mention that I actually do amateur astronomy when I'm talking about dark skies because I don't want it to be about me. Because if it was just about our hobby, yeah, we'd be totally wrong to ask everybody else to do all this special stuff. But that's not what it's about. And we're not always a small group either. I haven't actually gotten the pleasure of being at one of those, but that's an awesome array of telescopes there. There are big gatherings. I can never believe you page through astronomy, sky, and telescope. All that gear that people sell every year, somebody's buying it. It's actually a pretty decent business. And in Arizona, where they've been a little more successful at getting dark sky stuff done, astronomy contributes to their economy $300 million a year. So it is important to them to keep the skies dark. And they still have to fight like crazy. But, of course, the number one reason is saving money. That's the easy one. We waste a whole lot of money. We shouldn't see any of that stuff in space. Space doesn't need light. It's every bit of it wasted energy and money. And I really want people to think of it that way. And, some small contribution to global warming. We seem to feel like we can just waste stuff like that. Like it's not even important. And yet that's the lowest hanging, easiest thing to get rid of. Is all this light at night that we just don't need. Lighting up the bottoms of airplanes. So for the U.S., the estimate is something like $3.5 billion a year. That's not little money anymore. And even for a city, this is Knoxville, recently went through a conversion. And They actually got some decent lights. I talked to their lighting guy, and they said, yeah, as many. There will be a few that are angled that they felt like they just had to light something up. But otherwise, they did go with the lower color-corrected temperature ones, and they expect to save a lot of money and pay for this, and then save more money. So that's cool. So it's money saving, and that's usually a good way to get city councilmen and things like that's attention, is this is a money thing. So I'm glad at least one city in Tennessee is going gung-ho for this. This is good. Of course, we can individually do things. Point your lights down, use motion sensors, only light what you need to, and use the warm lights instead of those blazing bright white things. I recently bought, they make fluorescent tube LEDs, or they're that form factor. So I had one that was doing the seizure light thing in the basement. So I said, all right, I'll replace it with one of these. Let's see how that works. And well, the first store I went to, the ones they had were, like the 5,000 Kelvin bulbs. I'm like, wow, that's not necessary. So I finally did find some warm ones. Oddly enough, and they'll warn you about this, the fixtures are not all super compatible. Mine had a little sign on it that said something about if you replace it with some other funky, some energy-saving bulb, that this will cause something to overheat and the light will turn off intermittently. And that's true. After being on for maybe 45 minutes and it'll click off, it cools down, it comes back on. Or whatever. So I'll have to at some point break down and buy actual LED fixtures for it. But for a lot of the fixtures, it actually works. You can just screw in new bulbs. Well, that's kind of fun. There are business opportunities. This is kind of fun. These people, they were Piggott and Big South Fork. They were having a race in the dark. The dark sky. 50 miles. That's fun. I didn't do that. Then two, human beings are not the only creatures on this planet. So these are the things that are supposed to be awake at night. Now granted, a lot of the ones we have around here, possums and skunks, okay, they're not cute little baby sea turtles. So maybe it's a little bit hard for people to care or want to care, but even other animals like coyotes are mostly supposed to go around at night, and they're actually seeing a shift in behavior of some of these animals because there's not night anymore. And so they are adapting their behavior to our bad habits. Some things, though, like some of the moths, they do a lot of pollination. We don't think about it because we're in bed. They're out there doing their thing. And again, they don't do that well if it's all lit up. That's not something they're made for. And it strikes me when I walk down the street at night, there are heavy window shades on every window down the street. And you're going, well, then who is all this light for? We don't want our houses. Why don't we turn them off outdoors? The animals can't reach the switch. Why don't we do that? So yeah, sea turtles have become like the poster child. And I know at Myrtle Beach there are signs along the beach talking about how they're trying to limit light pollution. They're not being outstandingly successful, but they have gotten a lot of the beachside condos either point their lights down or not have any at night lighting up the beach. There were obviously a few people up and down the way that got grandfathered in. You could see them from a mile away. The ocean's supposed to be the brightest thing they see when they hatch. And, again, if you've been to a beach and you know what that strip looks like, you know it's probably not. And that's a sad thing. I walked on the beach one year. My family goes to Myrtle Beach a lot of years, and it was a full moon night. Sand is white, the full moon's rather bright, right? That's nature's own light pollution. I'm walking up and down the beach. I didn't bring a flashlight. It didn't even occur to me to bring a flashlight. But everybody else apparently, shoot. I don't know what they're lighting. They're, of course a lot of it's kids, but some of them are shelling because maybe it was low tide, it was a good time to shell. But honestly, they're literally ruining what they could see by the light they bring. Safety. We want to be safe. That's why we got all these lights. And you show people things like this. If you will point the light down, you might actually see that guy. There are some great before and after shots that were in the Tennessee Conservation magazine from the conversion at Pickett. The director, he didn't really care. He liked the jelly jar lights on the cabinet. And so finally he was convinced, all right, we're going for this designation. We need to change the lights. They got some really cute little copper fixtures. And when they were finished and they turned them on, you looked at it and go, oh, wow, it's so much better. Now you can see the porch. It's well lit. It's not hitting your eyes. Up in Kentucky, Mammoth Cave was trying to put forth an application. And I went there in the dead of winter last year to literally do a naked eye survey to see how many of the Messier objects I could see. And I'm standing in the parking lot, and there was snow on the ground. And I was like, I want to shoot out every one of those jelly jar lights over there. So they got some work to do. They did not get it. They've got more work to do. And safety, yeah. A town in England actually found, and some of you may have read this, that their crime rate dropped when they turned off the lights. And they asked some of the criminals about that. Said, how come you're going over here and not here?
Can't see the work.
That's what they said. They said, we feel safer over here where it's lit, and I don't need to get out my torch, right? In Nashville, for a long time, they lit the school buildings all night long. And kids would go in and graffiti. Now they're on motion sensors, and if the cop drives by and the lights are on, now he knows somebody's in there. That's a much more effective thing. Have something changed, not just light it all up. And of course, most of us have had this experience as well. You're driving down the road, and some fool's got these super bright lights. Maybe he can see, but nobody else can. And you know how long it takes your eyes to get dark adapted, and then somebody hits you like this, and bam, you're blind again. As we get older, that transition is even harder. So this is actually incredibly dangerous, especially for older drivers, to get hit in the face like that and boom, you're blind. And of course, you are not nocturnal. You know, now some of us try real hard, but still, we're supposed to go to sleep at night. It's supposed to be dark when you sleep. And it's been clear that working the night shift and doing things like that upset your circadian rhythms isn't actually good for you. It's not good for us to sit up with our little screens until wee hours in the morning. Turn them off, put them away. Twitter will wait, they'll be there.
It's mostly estrogen kind of.
Yeah. Yep. You know that goes in with, again, your natural daily cycle. It regulates a lot of your hormones as well. So yeah. Let it be dark. And of course you can encourage other people to get good lights. And there is an actual fixture seal of approval, which is kind of fun. It's often hard to find, and that's been a bone of my contention with the IDA, is that if I want to go and tell the city you need better lighting, I'd really like to have a really short list of these lights to exactly hand them. And there are like an unbelievable number of lights that they can choose from. So that's tough. But for you personally, Lowe's actually carries a whole line of night sky friendly lights, and they're designated that way. I did see a few recently at a Home Depot as well. So that's really nice, that at least they're taking the trouble to call it out as that and to make them available. What else we got? So LED lights naturally point down, which is kind of fun. The salesman, however, will come in and tell somebody, you can get twice the light for half the price. And you go, no, we want the same light for less price. So you have to kind of stand on them about that a little bit. But remember that your local utility is not in the business of not selling electricity. So you have to stand on them sometimes a little hard. It is nice. I promise you all those trees are the same color. This was in the Adventure Science Center's parking lot. The near lights there, and you can see how as the angle changed, you can see that the flat lens lights, at some angle you wouldn't see them anymore. But the color rendition is much different under those than it is under the traditional sodium lights. And of course, there are so many lights. There's a nasty billboard. Sadly, from the Adventure Science Center, the fireworks every year go on right here. And I end up trying to get that out of the picture. It's about vodka or something. There's another billboard, one of those LED things. I don't understand, why is that not a hazard to have this constantly changing picture while you're driving down the road? You know, if I'm not supposed to look at my phone, why is that thing okay? You could watch the display change. The outside drum of the planetarium is white. You could watch that sign change on the drum of the planetarium. It should be much less bright at night, if nothing else. And the other thing about our cities, out west, if you go out and you're driving maybe I-10 or I-20 and you stop somewhere, you see these little light domes. They're real cute. Because it's dry. Here, we have all this humidity. Our light scatters so much better. It's just, you know, what light does in our atmosphere is just nasty. Oh, man. And obviously there are no stars in that picture. And from the Science Center, to look north is to look over the city. And there are many nights that I could not. I actually would use this building right here to the edge of the Batman building. And everybody knows what I mean. Right in between. That's actually north from the Science Center. That's what I would use to pull the line from east to west. That's incredibly sad. Then there's the kids. I grew up in Campbell, Pennsylvania, which is only a mile from Harrisburg, the capital city, and I could still see the Milky Way. Today you can't. The next generation coming behind us does not have the same experience we had, even in suburbs. So these are quotes from a science teacher who, what his students would tell him, you know. I'm not good at science. It's boring. And I contend real strongly that astronomy is the most accessible science, right? You don't need a microscope or chemicals. All you need to do is walk outside and look up. It's accessible to everybody, and has been for thousands of years. And it's a gateway science. You will meet, you know, you meet somebody who's an engineer or a rocket scientist or even just, you know, I don't know, any kind of engineer or doctor. Yes, what got you interested in it? Well, you know, when I was a kid, I used to go out and look at the night sky. It's a gateway. People can get interested in it. It's accessible. And then they can go on and find out what other topics in science they might actually enjoy and be interested in. How many times have you been in a classroom and you've seen a poster that says, "Reach for the stars"? That's like everywhere. I'm not sure there's a school that doesn't have one. So, but they don't know what that means anymore. There are literally no stars in the city. You may have had this experience. You turn off the lights in the planetarium, kids from the inner city go nuts. They've never seen the sky. Wow. Science is about nature. And that means going out and getting your hands dirty, being out in actual nature. It is not looking at nature on your phone. And I hate it that the kids are so disconnected anymore. They'll walk outside, doesn't matter what the time of year is. They're in shorts and sandals, doesn't matter. They are so used to being in a constant, controlled environment. They're not outside collecting beetles like Darwin did. Getting your hands dirty. To look at amateur astronomy and you start following the sky, you become a part of those rhythms of nature, those things that people took the trouble to put up big, huge stones to mark. And I think that's a special thing. What phase is the moon? We would know. Most people? I don't know. Isn't it always over there in the same place in the sky? It's a revelation when you tell them it moves from night to night, right? So I don't see how you get kids interested in science when we're so disconnected from the natural world.
If the Earth is up there, then what's the girl standing on?
That's a good question. That's her imagination. Okay. And that's actually a leap that a lot of people can't make either. I mean, we make fun of flat Earth people, but in our heads, that's the model we have, right? We're standing on a flat piece of ground, the sky is big dome over our heads. Be able to visualize it as that round ball. Then all of a sudden you understand what causes eclipses, how come the moon phases, and all that cool stuff. So yeah, I think to watch the stars is to enlarge your vision, realize you're a part of something much bigger than you, and really get that interest in science. Everybody cannot be an astronomer. There are not anywhere close to the jobs. But they can all enjoy it. And it's free and open source. That's the cool thing about it. So, why here? Well, can't we just drive to those nice western dark sky places? You have to come back to work, that's a problem. But the other problem is, that's again, the sky should be accessible to everybody. And occasionally I might get out my social justice platform and say, that's not just for the rich and privileged who can drive out to do that. It should be for everybody. And it kills me in Nashville. You can drive down, even in downtown, the lighting gets better where these nice shiny new condos are. Why? They didn't want the light shining in their window. Yeah. The Grand Canyon. How many of you have seen it in person? Did it look anything like any picture you ever saw? No. The pictures cannot do justice. You can look at a million pictures on paper and it doesn't do justice to seeing something with your eyes. We have, if you've been out into the Nashville dark sky, that is a view. It's a uniquely privileged view. I mean, we're in a cool part of the galaxy where we've got this great view. We can see lots of stuff when the window goes clear every night. If you lived at the Grand Canyon, you would not take your window and paint it over. That's what we do every night with light. We're literally painting over, oh, we don't want to see all that cool stuff out there in the universe. If you thought of it that way, people might say, well, maybe we don't want to do that. Oh, man. Not the same as a smartphone. So, yeah, that's like 15-second exposure from the top of my hill looking at Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's actually a little bit better. It doesn't show up well here, but there's actually a few stars in that picture. So it could be different. Because we live here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. We got rid of some of the light. So that's cool. And this is a picture taken at Pickett. That's my van with the red lights on there. Anyhow, you got a little bit of Milky Way. You got more than a handful of stars. I think that's Jamestown down there. I'm going to talk. They're actually just passed the lighting ordinance up there in Jamestown. And what they have for lighting is some of the most awful, they're not even the sodium lights. They got mercury vapor stuff hanging around town. So when they change those out, it's going to make a difference in a real positive way. So one of the things I like to do is really to close with a quote from poet Ralph Waldo Emerson. And some of you may know this. It's a really nice quote. If the stars should appear for just one night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and adore and preserve for many generations the remembrance of the city of God which had been shown? But every night come these envoys of beauty and light the universe with their admonishing smile. So we should go out and smile back at the stars. Thank you.